Success, guys, a very, very lonely road, man. Very few people are willing to endure the pain, the sacrifice, the due diligence to be successful.
But he is going to be met hard and met fast by number 31 of that defense, Daryl Green, a name that I have said again and again tonight. Daryl Green making a huge tackle.
Purchase your track today.
Welcome to the 24/7 podcast show, and now here with Daryl Green. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Today we're going to be taking a different approach to the podcast. With the NBA season coming up, I really want to get into the game we seen last night that really had NBA Twitter and just NBA all around going crazy. Two of the top prospects coming into this year's draft. Honestly, with these two guys, I think these are two potential generational talents. And I mean that on a very large scale. I think these two guys who can go 1 and 2 this year, I think they also could have went top 5 in this year's draft. Looking at Wembanyama, a guy, he came out 37 points, 5 blocks, 7 3-pointers made. He had 4 boards, but you got to understand the type of guy you're getting. It's not a skill thing with him. It's not an effort thing with him. He's just a different type of player. And we've never seen anything exactly like this. We've seen guys, with a similar skill set, but with this combination of height, talent, we've never seen something like this. He's just different. Like I said, this is a generational talent. He comes on the fast break and he's drifting to the three-point line. He's shooting threes. Any normal time you see a 7'4" guy running down the court to shoot a three-pointer, you think that's a horrible shot. Why would you ever do that? But he's shooting them with he doesn't even shoot like a big man. He has a guard-like jumper. He moves his feet well on defense. I want to see him improve in some of those pick-and-roll situations, but his length makes up for a lot of that. Even if he does get out of position, he has a long wingspan. He can get blocks. He can recover quickly just due to that length. So he's a very interesting prospect. I think this season we're going to really see a lot of teams tanking. And I mean tanking. We're going to see teams competing to see who can be the worst. Like I said, we've seen the process with the Philadelphia 76ers, but this is different. This is a more intriguing prospect than Joel Embiid. This is a more intriguing prospect than a Ben Simmons. This is, I would honestly say he's one of the most intriguing prospects since LeBron James. That's a far-fetched to take it there, but you got to look at it. This is the type of player that everybody tried to make Chet Holmgren out to be, but this is the rich man's Chet Holmgren. This is Chet Holmgren's times 10. This is a different level type of player. And his frame, he has the frame that's able to put on weight. You look at Chet Holmgren, his frame, he doesn't really have broad shoulders. He's built like he's built. He can only put on but so much extra weight. But this dude, I keep emphasizing that he's different. He's a really different player. He has guard-like skills, the length to make up for anything. He's just special. Going to the other team, Scoot Henderson, an electric guard. Like I said, could have also been drafted top 5 in this year's draft. He's improved on his shot. Going to the game last night, pick and roll situations. He's pulling up for jumpers. He's getting mismatches. He's looking for the jumper. We've already seen that he can be a great finisher, but he's improved on his jumper. That's something that he really worked on in the offseason. He's athletic, can jump out the gym quicker than anybody, just an elite guard. What we're seeing the NBA really shift to nowadays. We got athletic guards that can shoot the three. That's the type of guy he is. But I would really lean more with Victor because I'm not really sold on guards leading teams to championships. Steph Curry, he's different. That's a different guard. I don't really want to get into comparing him to many guards. Magic Johnson, those type of guys, those are different guards, generational guards. I think this guy, Scoot Henderson, he has the chance to be a top point guard in the league, an all-star level player. But Victor, he can change the game, literally. He can change the way teams play defense. He can change a lot of things with that height. We've seen guys like Bowman, very tall guys, but they're nowhere near as skilled as Victor Wembanyama. He's just different, but he also has that size. A lot of people are trying to compare him into a freakish mixture of Giannis and Kevin Durant, and you think that's crazy, but you roll the tape, you put on the highlights, and you seeing this. You're literally watching this with your eyes. So this is a generational talent. Both of these guys have the chance to be very special. So you want to see teams going crazy. You might see some trades. You might see some players who you think are really good getting traded because teams are really looking into this. You got teams like the Spurs, the Rockets, the Thunder, teams who've been picking fairly well. But this is a player you can't miss on. With Chet Holmgren, Paulo, Jabari Smith, there were a lot of flaws that people tried to nitpick. A lot of things they can work on in their game. And don't get me wrong, Victor has room to grow, but that's what's scary because he's so far ahead than a regular prospect. But you don't see the same flaws that you would see for a normal 18-year-old with him. Like I said, him and Scoot, they're both ahead right now for where they're at respectively. So when they come into the league, these are guys who are going to make instant impacts for teams that can become franchise players very quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that rolls out this season. Another thing, going into this season, I have some of my contenders and some of my dark horses from each conference. I think this is going to be a very interesting season. We got teams like the Clippers. They got John Wall. It's going to be interesting to see if he can stay healthy. I have no question from a talent standpoint, but a lot of these teams, they're going to have to stay healthy. Kawhi Leonard, 1 year removed off that injury. He didn't play last year. Coming back, it's going to be interesting to see how the Clippers play. But I'm going to get into my contenders. For the Eastern Conference, I have Milwaukee, Philly, and Boston. Milwaukee, Chris Middleton got injured last year. A lot of people tried to write them off, but they are, again, betting favorites coming into this year because Giannis, he's that guy. He's currently the best player in the NBA. It can be up for debate, but I'm taking him as the best player in the NBA right now. I'm confident in that. I don't have any questions behind that. Giannis is my best player in the NBA right now. Going over to Philly, like I said, I think James Harden is way more motivated. In my earlier episode, I said the best times we've seen James Harden is when he's motivated. Going to Houston, Oklahoma kind of really gave up on him. Motivated, MVPs, scoring titles. Going to Brooklyn, he was motivated, looking good, being in the MVP race. And then things got rocky, he questioned a lot of things. They weren't really on the same track with Kyrie and the whole vaccination situation. And that just really fell apart before it could ever turn into something beautiful. But he's motivated again. I think we're going to see a different James coming into this year. A lot of people want to write him off. I don't expect James Harden to come out and average 36. That's not what I'm saying. But I can see him averaging somewhere around 20, 25 and 8, 25 and 9, somewhere around there. His scoring may not be what we're used to seeing out of James Harden, but those assist numbers, especially with Joel Embiid, they would be very high. That would be a contending team. Going over to Boston, Malcolm Brogdon. That is a great piece, something that this team can use. It's going to be interesting. He's an injury-stricken guy, so I really want to see if he can stay healthy and help them make one of those deep playoff runs. Also, with the coaching situation, are they going to connect with the new coach the same as they connected with Udoka? That's really what I'm interested to see. We know that team relies on defense. They got Jaylen Brown, they got Jason Tatum, but that's a team that really relies on defense. That's where they hang their hat. So I want to see if they're that same defensive team coming into this year. Going to the Western Conference, it's a little bit controversial. A lot of people may not agree with who I have, but I got the Warriors. Everybody knows the Warriors going to be back in contention again. Curry, those guys are getting no younger, but they're not getting any worse. Curry, like I said, right now is still the best point guard in the game. With Klay Thompson, they had a couple down years. They had about 2 down years, and a lot of people tried to write them off. Is the dynasty over? No, it's not over. It's not. They keep bringing guys. It's like they're working with a factory over there in Golden State. But my other team, the Dallas Mavericks, I really think this is Luka's season. We're gonna see Luka in that MVP race when the awards are ready to be given out. We're gonna see that this season. I'm very, very confident in that. Luka is a different guy. I think getting Christian Wood and adding him into that lineup is something they really needed. But if they want to win games at a very, very high level, they're gonna have to get the defensive side of things shored up. Luka, he has to get in shape coming into this season. We've seen him. He's looking more in shape than he usually does when the season rolls around. So he has to step up, being the best player on that team, being the leader of that team. He has to step up and get those guys to lock in defensively. My last team who I have as a contender in the Western Conference, the Denver Nuggets. I understand. The Denver Nuggets, what are you thinking? But you have to be patient with me right here. Nikola Jokic, he's always going to remain in that MVP conversation. He's a crazy talent. The shooting, the low post scoring ability, the passing, the rebound, it's all there. He's not the best defender, but he's so great. He's great. This is a great offensive talent we're seeing at the center position. He's one of those ones. He's a great player. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, those guys are coming back. A lot of people don't understand the impact that actually means. The last time we seen Jamal Murray, he was in the bubble. He was dropping 50. So that's the type of guy you have at guard. Michael Porter Jr., also an electric scorer, a great wing player. Those two guys have been banged up, but they've been rehabbing together. That's great towards chemistry. Bones Highland, that team is really going to be something. A lot of people don't see them coming, but I'm not calling them a dark horse because when they were healthy, they were contenders. They were the 6th seed last year. They weren't healthy. Even for Jokic to carry that team to a 6th seed was an incredible feat by itself. But now you got your 2 guys back. They're really going to be a contender. I'm going into my dark horses. For the Eastern Conference, I have the Atlanta Hawks. A lot of people don't believe in the Atlanta Hawks. They thought they were one-year wonders. They went in the playoffs. They beat the Knicks. Whoop-de-woo. What is that? They beat the 76ers. But what is that? A lot of people had questions about that. I believe in Trae Young, and DeJounte Murray is that key piece that they've been missing. That's really the key piece that they've been missing. He's a perimeter defender, and they have a couple perimeter defenders, DeAndre Hunter. But he brings that other play. Think about it. Other than Trae Young, they haven't really had other playmakers. He brings that play. He brings a two-way aspect to that team. Brings the playmaking, brings the scoring, brings the defense, and him and Trae Young will really complement off each other. A lot of people don't believe in 2-guard systems. 2 guys who were point guards. But DeJounte Murray, he's a guy that can play the 2. He's not undersized to play the 2. He's built really well. And like I said, I think him and Trae Young will complement off each other. Going into my dark horse in the Western Conference, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert is going to allow Karl Anthony Towns to really come into his own this season. Karl Anthony Towns has already been one of the best big men in the game. But now that he doesn't have to really be that paint protector, that defensive anchor, Rudy Gobert can handle that. We've already seen that he can handle that. Anthony Edwards, another guy going into another season, developing his mental aspect of the game, getting stronger, better, working on his jump shot. I just think that all comes together this season. And you don't make a move getting Rudy Gobert if you're not ready to go all in. That was an all-in move. They traded their first-round picks. They traded some future first-round picks. This is an all-in move. The Minnesota Timberwolves are here to win, and this is their season to start doing it and really be a contender in that Western Conference. Going over to the NFL, the game that we seen Monday night, a lot of what I predicted. I mean, seriously, a lot of what I predicted. I took the 49ers, I took them to win that game because the Rams, they're struggling. They're struggling. Matthew Stafford is struggling. He relies on Cooper Kupp way too much, but those other receivers aren't really doing their job for him to gain a rapport, for him to have a reason to trust them. Allen Robinson, a guy who got paid. What are we seeing from him? What are we seeing from Allen Robinson? Nothing. Allen Robinson is catching the same amount of passes as me sitting in this chair right now. He's a talented guy, but it's not developing right now. The run game, I told you guys, if they don't get a run game going early, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be a pretty game for them. It wasn't a pretty game for them. What I didn't expect was the 7 sacks they allowed. San Francisco was over the Rams' offensive line all night. Matthew Stafford was getting hit left and right. Like I said, he was seeing demons in the pocket. He really was. It just wasn't pretty for them. Their offense hasn't gotten it together. And their defense, I mean, the 49ers didn't have a great offensive game plan, but they put points on the board when they were in the red zone, when they had the opportunity to, when they needed to. Like I said, you have to get Deebo Samuel those touches. And what did they do? Give him the ball, catch and run. He made the whole secondary miss. Jalen Ramsey had the opportunity to save the day, missed the tackle. Deebo Samuel, a very electric guy. I don't even want to call him a position. He's just a playmaker on the football field, and he did what he did. Wilson, he is running the ball exceptionally well for the 49ers. He had the big run for the touchdown, and he is just playing well. With Elijah Mitchell being out for the foreseeable future, that's the guy they were leaning on in the run game. And a lot of people thought, oh, now Deebo Samuel has to be the running back. No, Wilson has really stepped up as the running back. He's looking good. He's running well. That offensive line, we know what they represent. Trent Williams, we know what they represent. The receiving core, Brandon Ayuk, Kittle, those guys, they had a good game plan. They beat the Rams, but the Rams have to really figure some things out. Time is against you. You have to start figuring those things out. You don't have Von Miller anymore. So we know that Aaron Donald draws a lot of attention from the defensive tackle position. So who's going to step up? Who's going to get sacks? Leonard Floyd, where are you right now? You're an extremely talented guy. You should be getting those one-on-one matchups, getting sacks. Guys have to step up. That secondary for Los Angeles, they're kind of banged up right now. So they're going to get a lot of guys back that may add to that, but we just want to see more of a pass rush. We want to see them clean up their pass blocking and really try to get a run game. But the most important thing, above all other things, they have to find that number 2 receiver. If it's going to be Allen Robinson, it's got to be Allen Robinson. It's only but so much options you have in that receiving room. And that's why they got Odell. A lot of people had the audacity to call him washed up. When he was with the Browns, he came to the Rams and he looked electric again. That was really what they needed in that room. And he made a difference. He really helped them win that Super Bowl. So they just have to get that figured out. But going over to my next topic, the NFL power rankings for week 4. And I have a lot of questions about that as well. We have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the Packers, and the Dolphins. And I'm not a fan of that order. I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of that list. I like the teams. I'm just not a fan of that order. The Philadelphia Eagles have been the most consistent and best team in the NFL. No doubt in my mind. No questions asked. They have been the best team in the NFL. I'm not even one of those guys who's on Philly's side. I'm not riding for Philly. But they've been the best team. I give credit where credit is due, where it's earned. And they've been the best team. Also, the Chiefs. I didn't want to overreact to that game against the Indianapolis Colts. But we can't sit here and act like it didn't happen. Patrick Mahomes, he came out. He looked like a magician against Tampa Bay. And now everybody, their memory is blank. They never lost the game. After that game, people just put Patrick Mahomes back on the pedestal, and he is great. Top 2, top 3 quarterback. He is that guy. He really is. But I'm not going to act like that. I'm not going to act like that loss didn't happen. So I have to put the Bills back in there. And the Bills, they lost a game to the Dolphins too, but the Dolphins are a way better team than the Colts. So that really means something there. The Ravens, that's a team who's not in the top 5. They're ranked at number 9, and I don't understand it. And I'm not going to sit here and ignore the fact that they've blown 2 leads. They were up big against Miami, lost that game. Up big, up 17 against Buffalo, lost that game. They really just have to close out games. But they lost to the 2 teams we're looking at as AFC contenders. Going to be interesting to see how Miami shakes out with the whole Tua situation. If I was Tua, I would be going to several different doctors, just trying to do what's in my best interest for me and my family. It's not about football right now. It's really bigger than football. So I don't know when we're going to see Tua back on the football field. Maybe I can't look into Tua's mind, but I know as an athlete, you don't want it to be about yourself. You're really selfless, especially at the quarterback position. He's thinking about his team. He's thinking they need him. This is their Super Bowl run. This is their season to go at it. So I don't know how that situation is going to play out, how that's going to shake out. So that's going to really be interesting. But going back to the list, my personal top 5 power rankings list currently would be the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Green Bay Packers. That's up for debate. If you guys got a different top 5, let me know. But that's my current top 5 power rankings right now, just based off consistency and patterns. Patterns are a really big thing because you think a team's going to get something turned around, but it doesn't always work that way. Things don't always change. We can't just assume because they were good last season, they're going to get it turned around. We can't assume that. So I'm going off of the patterns I'm seeing. If things change, then I'll change my rankings accordingly. But right now, that's my top 5 power rankings. Going over to my MVP race. Also, I still got Josh Allen at 1. Things lately haven't been as pretty as they were to start the season, but he's won games. I really wish they could have won that game against the Dolphins. He would have been the clear-cut favorite right now, but they didn't get it done. Had opportunities, didn't get it done. Also a questionable coaching decision in that game, but still my number 1 guy in the MVP race. Coming in at number 2, I'm putting Patrick Mahomes in there. I can't ignore it. He's been great to start the season. It's just that Colts game really threw me off. I didn't overreact to it, but I seen it. Sometimes you got to see things without seeing them. You got to take them with a grain of salt. I seen it. It wasn't what I expected. I expected a lot out of the Chiefs, and I still do. They shook back against Tampa Bay, but that Colts game is still in my mind. It's only 2 weeks removed. So Tampa Bay is a struggling team right now. We can't say because they beat Tampa Bay, they're great. Tampa Bay hasn't been great. They're still trying to get some things together, getting guys back from injury. And at number 3, I have Lamar Jackson. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. 2 guys who are playing exceptional. Jalen Hurts has been great, but that rushing game really is different. He's leading his team to victories, but Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, those guys are also playing a role. I wouldn't be too sure that if a different guy was in a position that they couldn't win. I'm going to just be honest. But Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, exceptional quarterback, playing well this season, raised his completion percentage. Like I said, he's throwing with anticipation now, being more accurate on some throws, making the easy throws look easy. That's the most important thing. That's what I've liked seeing from his game. But I have Lamar Jackson ahead of him because, like I said, most valuable. My definition of the MVP, you take this guy away from the team, and what do you have? You take Lamar Jackson away from the Ravens, and what do you have? You take Patrick Mahomes away from the Chiefs, and what do you have? You take Josh Allen away from the Bills. You don't even want to know what you have. So those are my top 4 guys in the MVP race. I like Josh Allen. I think he just has the narrative. You know, it's his time. It's his time. These other guys, they had their shine. Jalen Hurts also has a very interesting narrative. So I'm going to be looking at that, seeing how he performs, because he can make a big leap. His team keeps winning. If they just, all they have to do is win. He performs well. He doesn't have to perform great. All they have to do is win. Because like I said, NFL, media, it's all about the narratives. But Josh Allen has the edge. It's his time once again. A lot of people wanted him to win against Kansas City last year. Lost in overtime. He's been there and just couldn't get it done. They've lost those close score games. So now it's really his time. This is his MVP to lose this season. I'm confident in saying that. The only way he can lose it is if he loses it. Nobody could really just go out there and win it if he's playing well, because his performance is tied in with his narrative. That's just built for what the media wants, for what the NFL wants, and what rightfully should happen. And that's going to wrap things up for today's episode of the 24/7 podcast. As you can see, today we did not have roll to tape. We're going to be implementing that in some different days and some different sections just to get acclimated to the new schedule. But what I really want you guys to look for, tomorrow I will be posting my first one-on-one interview. I don't want to really disclose the guest just of yet, but that's going to be something interesting. This channel, we on the rise. I really urge you guys to like, comment, and subscribe, but also promote the channel. Let your sports friends, let them know what's going on. Let them know about the channel, because we're only going to get better, bring more content, upload more, and we really in grind mode right now. This road to 100, and I'm not stopping. I'm never stopping. So we really on the grind right now. We really getting to it. And thank you for watching today's episode of the 24/7 podcast.